The attack in Moscow is exceptionally worrying for the Russian government and especially for their military, because it shows a considerable amount of planning that had gone behind the insertion of a device on this particular day and at this particular target. The individual concerned that was targeted was celebrating his 55th birthday at a high-profile restaurant in Moscow. And he had a very closed, invited group of individuals that were going to come along and celebrate this birthday with him. The target had just recently been made the general for the Russian Aerospace Primary Agency. And the actual attack itself was a device which was approximately 1 kilogram of TNT dressed and fabricated as a gift, which was brought by a woman that tried to deliver it to the restaurant. Now, there was signage at the restaurant, apparently identifiable to Alexandra 55, which no doubt signposted his particular birthday event. Now, the woman, when she brought the device in, it was stopped by security, and security were able to interrogate it outside the restaurant. However, it was detonated by the woman, we believe either by her or remotely. She died, as did the security guard, and approximately 3 to 5 people died in total, and about 19 to 21 individuals were severely injured, no doubt not only by the explosion, but by the debris that is often created and shrapnel created by these devices. The device itself did have shrapnel, apparently, but no doubt breaking glass, masonry, this can all contribute to a high casualty rating. What was particularly concerning about this attack was this was a very senior officer, a general, within the Russian aerospace agencies. And this individual should have had significant amounts of security around him at pretty much all times, especially whilst the Ukrainian conflict prevails. But where the threat had evidently managed to gather their intelligence was to know which venue he was celebrating his birthday, the timings of that event, the security that he had or would have at that event, which shows that there was no doubt a period of reconnaissance and surveillance covertly undertaken against him prior to the event taking place itself. Now, this would also mean that some intelligence was gathered not only physically, but potentially technically as well, to actually get to the calendar to determine this information, unless, of course, this was eavesdropped in some capacity, whether that be physical, human, or whether, again, technical. But what it does say is that leading members of Russian military are being very, very specifically targeted for a number of different reasons. Firstly, to create concern across Russian military, which inevitably it will do. But secondly, to impact on morale of senior leaders within the military. And shows that whoever the group was or individuals were behind this targeted attack, that they are exceptionally proficient in intelligence gathering and then conducting an assassination operation. What we've seen is a significant increase in covert and clandestine operations, whether that be espionage or assassination. And we've seen a number of high-ranking military officials within Russia being targeted, whether it be explosives concealed within an electronic scooter, or whether, as we saw most recently this weekend, the attack on a high-ranking general who was celebrating his birthday at a prominent and well-known restaurant in the center of Moscow. One can only draw speculation that these are special forces operators working on behalf of the Ukrainian government, and whether they are Ukrainian or other special forces that have been attributed to this. What it is showing is that they can strike within the heartland of Russia to cause significant impact and concern across the Russian government, whether that be to damage morale, as I mentioned, or whether it be to try and create some cessation by Russia's military efforts down in Ukraine. An attack of this level is hugely impacting to the Russian government because it will inevitably send shockwaves through all of the military. And if the most highest level ranking officers are being targeted, that means anybody beneath them can also be targeted. But we will not see the end of this until the conflict in Ukraine has been resolved. That is, of course, if we attribute this to Ukrainian intelligence agencies or affiliated agencies working on their behalf. But ultimately, what we're seeing here is something which, if it continues to the levels that it's continuing at, this isolates those high-ranking generals in not wishing to be prominent or foot forward in terms of their vocality of their support, obviously, for the Russian government. There is also the collateral impact. And this particular general being targeted at his birthday party with his family, with his closest friends, will no doubt have a domino effect to other high-ranking military personnel, to saying that they may not be concerned for their own personal security because they've adopted that risk being in the role that they are, but their families are now being targeted, their friends are being targeted. And this has far wider reaching implications in terms of their support potentially for the ongoing military actions. I think what we're going to see now is a lot of these high-ranking military personnel becoming far less free in their movements to be able to live a somewhat normal life within what should be the safe haven of their home country. And we're going to see an increase in intelligence personnel being deployed and assigned to them to carry out what we would call hostile surveillance reconnaissance or detection. So to try and determine if they are under surveillance in some shape or form, because these attacks are not random, they are well planned, they're scheduled, and they are conducted by highly sophisticated individuals in terms of training. Now, their skill sets, no doubt, will be adopted by the Russian intelligence agencies to ensure that they are identifying high levels of capability that are planning these types of attacks, and may very well wish to run interception operations, of which there can be many, as a counter-surveillance capability. In the wake of this most recent attack, and many others which have taken place over the last year or so, I think we are only going to see more and more of these attacks or attempted attacks taking place. And as a direct result, this is to maybe try and influence the outcome of the conflict, which really draws focus to the fact that all parties really need to come to the table to try and hammer out a solution sooner rather than later.